Looks like it's going. So I just need to catch the volume and then we'll be good to go. And let's hit record. There we go. Well, welcome to Your Message Matters. I don't see it recording, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure I've clicked that button. I've fallen for this before where I thought it was done and it wasn't. There we go. So welcome to Your Message Matters. My name is Lori Raupe, and I am the founder of the Butterfly Publishing Company and your show host today. And I'm so grateful you're here. Today, we are going to talk about something so important to the success of your book. We are going to talk about how to keep your reader engaged within the body of your chapters or your manuscript, of course. Now, we've talked about the through line, beginning, end, and the steps that the reader takes to get there. But that's a very broad stroke for what you need to accomplish within the pages of your book. So let's set the stage for just a minute. Imagine this. Your reader just finished your book. And not only have they finished it, but they are raving about it. They are telling their friends. They are writing reviews. They are doing all the things that you want them to do because why? There's one reason that they're going to want to do that, and that is because your words have made an impression. They have felt an impact that you have led them through. This is so important to creating a book that not only sells well, but makes an impact, that makes a difference, that does what you want it to do. So you want to have raving fans. That's what I've heard them called by many people. And these are those who will get you where you want to go. They have had the transformation that you have hoped and prayed for them. That's the goal, right? Well, you don't just want to write a book to give information. You want to pull that reader in and keep them engaged. And to do that, you need to be powerful. Your words need to be compelling, chapter after chapter. These are the things that make your audience not want to read your book, but need to read your book. It isn't just reading the book, but it's also being remembered. You want them to be able to cite things that created change in their life. But you almost have to step back for just a minute because first you have to remember that everything you write about supports the big idea. Your book is not just a collection of words, it's an experience. And the first few pages will determine whether or not your reader will stay engaged for the journey or they'll walk away. No, we don't want that to happen. The more intentional you are about crafting your opening and the more powerful your book becomes as it goes along, you want strong chapters, and especially that first chapter has to make a difference in their life. It has to keep them engaged. It has to foreshadow what they're going to get when they get through to the very last page of your book. You want to make a difference in their life, right? It's not about just buying books. It's about making a difference in their lives. You want that reader to want to stay up all night to read and finish your book. That's the kind of book that we hope that we can create for our readers. And one of the things that I know, or a couple of the things that I know that cause books to fail. And the first one is forgetting that you are writing to the reader, that it's not just a story you're telling. This is so common. And I can generally tell a book that is not reader oriented by reading along just the edge as the paragraphs start. If most of the paragraphs start with I did something or I felt something or something about I, if you use words like I or me or my, You may lose your reader. They lose interest when it's all about you and you haven't pulled them in. One of the best ways you can pull a reader in is by a hook. Now, truth be told, I really don't like that term, but it is a marketing term. We're not talking about hooking a fish, but we kind of are. We want to hook their attention, right? So the other thing that I think we make a big mistake when we don't do it is we don't create curiosity. We don't tell them a little bit about something without that idea that, oh, there's more. You want to create a little tension, a little curiosity. In the beginning, you have to give them a reason to want to continue to turn the pages. Another thing that I see is the readers don't have an emotional connection. The readers remember how a book will make them feel. They don't want to just be told what to do. Nobody likes that. Not you, not me. And, I remember as a little girl, my mom trying to tell me what to do, and I just didn't like that. Were you the same way? Oh, gosh. I think it was definitely, I was very spirited as a child. And I think my mom had a hard time trying to figure out how to help me be a better me. So, what makes an irresistible chapter, especially the opening chapter? Because, like I've said, you want to grab their attention so that they are fully invested. Maybe they've picked up your book in a bookstore or a friend gave it to them, and they start to read it, and pretty soon they forget where they are. That's the kind of book you want to create for your reader. You also really need to not only grab their attention, but to keep their curiosity piqued. So when a person is reading a book, they're making little decisions along the way. Do I keep reading or do I put it down? Am I getting an impact from this or should I just forget about it? Well, we don't want them to say, forget about it. No, that's not what we want to do. They're thinking things like, can I trust this author? Is what they're saying true? Is this book for me? They're asking little questions like that in their mind, and you want to be speaking to what they're thinking about. People make these decisions emotionally, and then they justify them with logic. So remember, as you're writing your book, you are impacting both sides of their brain, so to speak. In this process that you're going through as you're writing your book, think about the little decisions along the way that you want them to make, what you want them to become aware of, and you want them to say, yes, I trust this person. I think what they're saying is true, and I want to learn from them. So let's talk about that very first chapter for just a minute. Think about a movie trailer, kind of. You want to preview in such a dynamic way that that reader understands what's going to happen as they read and turn each page. You must hook them instantly. We're going to talk about how in just a minute. You must establish an emotional connection. You have to see or help them see that you are raising the stakes of their life. You want them to see that they are at risk of something if they don't follow you. You can also create FOMO, right? The fear of missing out, so that they keep wanting to turn the pages. Not want, but need to turn the pages so that they don't miss out on something important. So these are the elements that you want to go back and look at your chapter once it's done. I'll say them again in a few minutes. So the key question to answer is, by the time my reader finishes this first chapter, what will make them turn the page and go on to the next? Instead of putting it on the shelf, or worse yet, throwing it into the donation pile or returning it to Amazon. We do not want that to happen at all. So I decided, what can I do to help you create these chapters that work? So I kind of created like a 6-step framework. And I've already said it, but I didn't say it clearly so that you caught it. I'm going to say it again. The first sentence must grab attention, but then start with some action, not the backstory. They don't care when you were born in 19 whatever year in some old hospital or whatever, unless it was exciting. Then they might want to listen in. But start with some action. Is there an emotional hook? Is there a logical proof so that you are the authority? I always say when you write a book, you create authority, and there is no mistaking that the word author is within the words of authority. Have you created some pressure within that reader? Are they afraid of missing out? Or are they worried that their life will stay the same and they won't have a solution to their problem if they don't keep reading? And does my chapter end with more curiosity or tension to keep them wanting to go? So if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know how to do this. If you're struggling to make powerful chapters, don't worry. Writing a strong opening really takes practice. And of course, I'm here to help. We do have writing tools that are here to help, and our little friends that are AI tools can definitely help you create, I want to say, they don't write it for you, although they will. I don't think it's a good idea for them to write it for you, but I do think that it's a wonderful idea to have them help you create words that will really make an impression. So writing a book is a skill set. I don't think that there is anybody that starts in the beginning of writing their book and they keep writing to the end, and then they close whatever it is that they're doing on their computer or on their tablet and go, done, I have the perfect book now. It takes writing, it takes rewriting, it takes thought. I know nobody likes to think, right? All of those things are within your writing. I don't know anybody that just can pick up a pen and write a whole book in one setting with no corrections, no edits, and no thought. It just doesn't happen. Well, if it does, I'm not sure it captivates the reader. So do take a look at these things and make sure that you're looking for the things that we're going to talk about. And I'm going to give you some examples of what I've already mentioned. The first thing is that irresistible hook. You want to grab their attention. You want to surprise them, shock them, and make them curious. I don't really like that word hook, but it implies you're fishing, and we're not fishing. We're just trying to grab attention, if you will. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples just to make it a little easier to understand. So you could start with a shocking statistic. This book might be about mental illness, and you could start your book by saying every 40 seconds, somebody in the world takes their own life. What if one conversation could change all of that? That's pretty compelling. I would want to read more, wouldn't you? Here's another one. So this book might be by a life coach. What if everything you believed about success was a lie? That would keep me reading. Or you could make a bold statement. Fear isn't real, but it controls more of your life than you realize. That's the truth, friends. But that would keep me reading, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you want to know more? You can also use a vivid or unexpected description. A business book might begin with something like this. The boardroom smelled like burnt coffee and regret. A fitting scene for the moment I realized that I had built a business that I absolutely hated. I love that. I have more examples, but I don't really have time to go into all of them because we've got to keep moving. But we are going into this week in the book course membership that I've developed, and I'm so excited. We meet every Wednesday, and it is an exciting group that is developing. And you can get in on the ground floor if you'd like. To join, all you'd have to do is go to LoriRaupe.online/membership. Just wanted to tell you about that. So let's think about this a little bit more. One other thing you could do is if I was writing a book about publishing a book, I could say something like, my hands were shaking as I hit publish on my very first book, blog post, article, whatever you were writing, right? In that moment, I had no idea it would change the course of my life. And that's truth when it came to my first book, for sure. You could share a personal confession. You could introduce a powerful metaphor. Begin with a client or a reader story. I'm going to be speaking at the International Women's Day event that's coming up, sponsored by Paula Fellingham, who started Win Win Women TV. I'm so excited, and I am going to be beginning that talk with a really wonderful story. I would love for you to be a part of it. Please, if you want to join, it's an 8-day summit. It's so exciting. And I'll give you more information about that when we chat in the next part of this phase. Or if you're watching on YouTube, send me a message, look for me, and I'll put a link in the comment section just for you. The other thing you can do to have a powerful beginning is reveal a common misperception. So most people think confidence is the same as self-esteem. In fact, you can have great confidence and still be telling yourself you are not worthy of success. Another statement of truth. You can paint a high-stakes scenario. A book to instruct somebody how to get on the TEDx stage might be something like, you're standing on a TEDx stage staring at 500 expectant faces, your heart is pounding, your hands are wet with sweat, and you open your mouth and you completely forget your first line. How can we avoid that? Well, I think everybody's had that moment where you're like, oh my goodness. But you could, if that was a book about writing a TEDx talk and how to deliver it, that would be maybe a very good first line. So having that first powerful hook is really important when you're developing your chapter. Then go right into the action. Open with something in real-time thinking. No long backstories or history is needed at this point. In fact, one of my speaker trainers would always say, cut the backstory and get to the action. And it reminds me of what we need to do when we're creating a chapter as well. If you're writing a memoir, start with a defining moment and not your birth certificate details, right? So start with something positive, a pow, a bang. I'm reading a book right now, and the very first opening is, if I could just say it, boring. We need to pep it up a bit. So that's what I do. I love helping people create more interest and more excitement from the very beginning. The other thing you want to do when you're creating your chapters is create that emotional connection. Make the reader feel something. Maybe you want them to feel excited that they're on this journey with you. That's a powerful emotion. But maybe you want them to feel curiosity or fear or some other kind of an emotion that is it's not forgettable. You want them to feel something. When your reader emotionally connects, they'll stay with you. I'm writing a book on grief right now, and I'm really pondering with the best story to start this book out with. And part of me wants me to share the conversation that I had with my dad the day my Jenna died. And one of the things he said, which really impacted me, was, Lori, you are going to impact so many lives with Jennifer's story. And I remember when he said that, that wasn't what I was thinking at the time. I mean, I was in so much pain that I couldn't even think of what tomorrow might look like. But thank heavens for his comment, because it caused me to start to think in those terms, and it really helped. So another thing you can do is use vivid and sensory type details. So describe the sights, the sounds, the emotions without over explaining. And honestly, you don't have to use real flowery language. I think most people like to read at about a sixth grade level. So if you're not writing some kind of a text or business book, I would not put a lot of what my old boyfriend used to call $5 words. Use your 50-cent words so that people don't have to stop and look up what the word means, just in case they don't already know. So instead of saying something like, it was a dark and rainy night, try saying something like, rain hammered against the windshield as I screamed out in pain. I miss my daughter. That really brings somebody in to the car with me as I was screaming out. One of those lines kind of pulls you in, and the other just tells you something. We want to show, not to tell. And then the fifth element of each chapter should end with some kind of a cliffhanger or an unanswered question to foreshadow the next chapter. Give your reader a reason to turn the page. Instead of wrapping everything up nice and neatly, leave them hanging just a little bit. I'm really good at wrapping it up, I might just say. But I was thinking the books that I really enjoy reading. I bought a brand new book that just was launched by a pastor of a church that I follow in Florida. I'm so excited about this book, and I'm going to be evaluating it based on what I know today and looking for things that I can do differently. The name of the book is called Don't Let Doubt Take You Out. I love it. And John Maxwell wrote the foreword, so I'm excited about this book. We'll see what it's all about. But at the end of each of your chapters, leave them hanging just a little bit and foreshadow what is happening in the next chapter to come. I always like anchoring whatever the message is with some kind of an exercise. I think that's really valuable to anchor the thought of your chapter in doing something. And people like to do something, even if they don't get out their pen and paper and journal, 5 pages based on what they just learned. Even if they just think about the questions, that will really become more powerful for them. You want them to keep turning the pages. So when you apply these kind of tips, go back then after your chapter is done. I always recommend write your chapter out, look at it a few times and see if you're proud of it, see if it looks good, then do kind of your editing and get it just right, and then do this quick little audit. Does my first sentence grab attention? Am I starting with some kind of action rather than the backstory? Is there an emotional hook? Is there a logical hook so that you get both parts of the brain? And have you created curiosity and raised the stakes for that reader? Stretch them just a little bit. You know what they say about rubber bands. They are no good unless you stretch them. People are the same way. You want to stretch their thinking a little bit and maybe create a little FOMO along the way, fear of missing out. And then ask yourself, does my chapter end with some kind of curiosity or tension that is building in my book so that I can create transformation within my reader? I would love to help you any way I can. If you are watching on YouTube, please look for the show on Win Win Women TV. Your message matters. And after our show is over for the first 30 minutes, then we do Q&A time and we have wonderful conversations backstage. So please join us there. So grateful to be a part of this forum. And if you're seeing this show before March of 2025, starting on March 1st, is the International Women's Day Summit. And it is back to back learning and education and topics from all kinds of women. I think there are 65 speakers in all. And I, Lori, your hostess with the mostest, will be one of those. So absolutely look for that. And if it's after that date, no fear. We will continue to add value to you with your message matters and give you all that you need to write your nonfiction book. I am honored and feel so overjoyed to be able to help you get your book done. I truly believe that books change lives. And if you have not joined the Facebook group, Write Your Book Now, Authors Helping Authors, please look for me there. And don't forget to tag me because I won't see your post unless you tag me. The algorithms are wonky. You guys know that, right? It always blows my mind. Have an amazing week, and we will be right back here next Monday. Thank you, and God bless.